So now we're at nuclear fusion. What a beautiful process. This thing is so damn interesting. Is that if I'm talking about nuclear fusion, we talked about one process already. So if I come in this direction over here and I go, yep, this is the direction of fusion. And our example that we did here is that we said, suppose that we have a collection of nucleons. And then we created helium-4, which is way down here. And this process, by the way, is an extremely important process in the sun. And that's really where we're headed towards. So when you look at this process here, what you're going to find here, and which I'm going to try to explain to you very clearly here, when you look at 4 individual masses, you're going to find that individual nucleons have more mass than this guy right here. So even though I have 4 nucleons, you would think that if I put 4 nucleons together, that they should have the same mass. They don't. So the combined 4 nucleons have less mass. Not the same, but less mass. So what I'm really saying here is that if I was to force these guys to make a combination, then here we go. Let's go look at this thing. So this is what I'm really saying here. And this is what nuclear fusion does. Nuclear fusion, what it does here is it forces nuclei to bond together. So here we go. So if nucleons are forced, and typically when we say forced, we're talking about extreme temperatures, extreme, forcing, jamming these things together. If nucleons are forced to join together, and what that really means is that you're making them get so close together that the nuclear force, strong nuclear force, now causes bonding. So if nucleons are forced to join together to make a single larger mass nuclei, the final nucleus will have a higher binding energy per nucleon. And that is no surprise here. Look at the binding energy, right? The binding energy of proton is 0. The binding energy of a neutron is 0. And if I compare that to the binding energy of helium-4, well, this guy is about minus 7.5 MeVs. So it has a lot more binding energy. So what you find here is that because they have a binding energy, that means what? So this implies then that they have what? They're more tightly bound. And if they're more tightly bound, then that means that they have a deeper potential well. So that's what fusion does. So as we move down this curve, we're increasing, as we already said, we're increasing in the binding energy. So now let's go look at the details of this thing here. And what we know about here is that, I mean, you may not have a lot of experience with this equation here, but clearly the most famous equation of all time has to be E equals mc squared, without any doubt. So here we go. So here's what we find, that we have Einstein's most famous equation is, without any doubt, E equals mc squared. You know that when he wrote this down, it was an afterthought. It wasn't like his primary focus. Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful history about this. So Einstein's most famous equation is clearly E equals mc squared, where m is the mass of an object and c is the speed of light. So what he says here is, he says this: mass is the energy content of an object. And in some ways, it says that an object has its own energy. And so this is literally called mass potential energy. And this mass potential energy, and this is what I'm going to call it, and I'm going to say this is the energy associated with mass. And what is this value? This is mc squared. It's a form of potential energy. Okay, it's a form of potential energy. So here's what we find here. What we find here is that if I was to compare the masses of the 4 nucleons versus the helium. So if we compare the masses of 4 nucleons, and in this case, I really mean what? I really mean that I'm going to have 2 neutrons and I'm going to have 2 protons, right? I'm going to compare these guys versus a helium-4 nuclei. And if I look at this guy, again, I'm comparing this guy to that guy like this. So this is a bound state. So we got to be really, really careful with our language here, right? This is unbounded. This is bounded. Okay, so it's unbound nucleons. I should have said that. It's unbound nucleon, and these are bound nuclei. And here's what's crazy about that. If you were to weigh them and I had them on a scale, this is what you would find, that the scale would tip. So if I had a scale like this, like a teeter-totter, if I was to put the 2 protons on this side, the 2 neutrons on this side, and then I went over and I put the helium nuclei over here, you're seeing here is that this combination is heavier. So these are heavier. This is less heavy. So the question is, why is there a mass discrepancy? And it looks like this here. Is that when you look at the energy, here's what you find here. Is that, so using a bar diagram, so if we have 4 nucleons, 4 unbound nucleons. In other words, if I look at the masses of this guy and these two guys, according to them, they have a certain amount of energy. How much energy do they have? Well, it looks like this. Let's say that they have this amount of mass energy. So when I look at this mass energy, what I'm really seeing here is that I'm seeing that it has this amount. But now if I formed a bound state, what you find here is that there's less energy in the bound state. And this is what this is telling me over here. So if you look at the teeter-totter, this tells me over here that this side has a bigger mass, and then this side has a smaller mass. So when I look at this guy, you know what? I'm gonna have to adjust this. That means that this side has a bigger mass. And so when I look at its energy content, this then has a big mass energy here. But energy cannot be created because that has to be a constant. So the question is, where's the rest of the energy here? Well, when I look at the rest of the energy, I lose some of the mass energy because now I have a smaller mass. So I have a smaller mass energy. And the rest of it has to be released because it's not in the system anymore. And so when I go and I look at this energy here, then I'm going to say that this energy right here has to now be released. So that means this is energy released. So this is the nuclear reaction. So a fusion nuclear reaction acts as follows. So what it does here is it does this. So I somehow take 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and what I do here is that I now force them together. And this is the process known as fusion. And then what happens afterwards is that now I then form a new particle. I form helium-4 here. And so out of here comes, remember, there's magic that happens, which I should have been a little bit more careful here. So it happens very fast. So there's the spontaneous process again, right? And then out of this process here, what do I have here? Well, I have zipping out of this process here, I have a helium-4. And then at the same time, I'm releasing energy here. So this is the energy released here. Okay, so this is the energy released in this process. So anytime you fuse particles together, you get less mass and you have to release energy. And so picture-wise, that's what this means here. So now what we want to do here is that we want to go in and so, again, going back up to our picture, because we got to keep coming back to this picture here. Did I draw this picture over here? So look at this picture here. So when I draw this picture, you're seeing that the direction of more tightly bound energy is going like this here. So you're seeing that it becomes more stable because we have a deeper well. Is that I want to go in and I want to look at one of the most important processes of nuclear fusion. I would call this an important example.